So a lot of patients come and they are very curious about continuous glucose monitoring, or sometimes I've sent them to a nutritionist who recommends it as a tool. I think there are right ways to use continuous glucose monitoring and some maybe not so good ways. And of course, sometimes people are just using them out of curiosity. Um, when we are using a tool like a continuous glucose monitor, we need to recognize that it is going to give us data and it's up to us to decide what we're going to do with the data. Sometimes people will start using a tool like this and they really only want it to show them good results, and they get frustrated if they see that their blood sugars are going up when they eat food. Now, if we are eating food and we know it to be a healthy food and we know it to be, a reasonable portion of food, and we get a blood sugar spike, if we choose to get upset about that, it might steer us away from a healthy way of eating. And I'm going to contrast that with if we are using it and looking at what happens when we snack, when we grab ice cream or goodies and see a blood sugar spike. We have to use a little bit of our judgment to discern what we're going to do with those results. It is normal when we eat food, and really food of any kind, to see our blood sugars go up. What the blood sugar meter can't tell us is if we are having a lot of crazy spikes of insulin. And crazy spikes of insulin, when insulin is shooting up really high and we've got some insulin resistance, that is often increasing hunger and it's increasing fat storage. And that is often leading to a lot of weight gain. So I can't see that with a continuous glucose meter. I can only see the blood sugar response. But if I see that my blood sugar goes way up and then it goes way down, I probably have some insulin resistance. And so we can use the data that way. We can look to see what is the response when I eat different foods. If I see a blood sugar rise after I've eaten a relatively healthy meal with normal portions, and I see, kind of a normal sort of slow curve down, then that's probably a food that is working well in my body. But again, if I see just a sudden drop, I might be more suspicious that, yeah, that's the insulin resistance, because I'm getting a big release of insulin. It is eventually driving my blood sugars down, but it might be really crashing them. And that often leads to that sensation of hypoglycemia or low blood sugar. I think that choosing to use a tool like that, we need to be willing to look at the data. We need to be willing to be curious about it and decide what we're going to do with that. If I'm using that as a tool to justify a way of eating that I know is not in good alignment with my health goals, we shouldn't see that as a free pass. I might be able to do just fine with that food right now, but if I know that I don't want to be eating ice cream every day because that's never been shown to be beneficial for my body, then I shouldn't use my blood sugar response to justify that. I don't think that's the right way to use the data. So some people find it really helpful to be able to notice how often they're having blood sugar spikes, or if their blood sugars are going high overnight. We do release some glucose from the liver. That's normal overnight, but sometimes people have a really high blood sugar at nighttime, and that is, again, a sign of some insulin resistance. So using the data and usually working with a healthcare professional to be able to interpret it a little bit and decide, all right, what do we need to do with this information? How can I use it to move my health goals forward?